Digital modelers cannot just cut through in a live setting. They don't have that much punch as a tube amp does have, do they? Now, that's a very huge topic that always comes up every time. Like, hey, you have a modeler, you go into front of a house, or you're coming out through a wedge. You don't have that same feel like you have an amp in the room type of vibe with the drummer ringing loud and the bass amp growling. Your modeler just cannot keep up because it just doesn't have that much power compared to tube amp on stage, especially for someone like myself that started out playing real tube amps in small venues with loud drummers, loud bass amps, and all that good stuff. You see behind me, I still have my Fender Princeton. It's not really loud, but usually when I play like louder gigs, I will definitely be having probably 4x12 cabinets, or something of that nature with Ed, usually Marshalls. Sometimes I take my Bujera. Sometimes I will settle for, not even settle, my amp of choice is always a Fender Twin Reverb. It's loud enough, I can cut through any mix, cut through with any drummer and any bass amp. Or sometimes I just go with the Fender Hot Rod 3, which is my first and most played amp. Now, all these solutions are great when you're in a smaller setup. For church settings and, bigger arenas where, your amp is pretty much useless in that type of scenario, your modulus would definitely make sense. Because anyway, you're coming out from a wedge, or you monitoring to your in-ear monitor. So it's pretty much pointless to have an amp on stage. Your amp will probably be in an ISO room somewhere and all that stuff. So now today, what I want to talk about is practical solution to make your modulus sound like a real amp on stage. I know there's a ton of videos on YouTube that has gone through this, but I want to share my own personal and practical way that I've always cut through, especially in smaller venues where you have a loud drummer, probably not even mic'd, but still freaking loud. But your FR is just not cutting it at that point. It doesn't have that punch. It doesn't sound as realistic as you will probably want it to be. I use the Line 6 power cab. It's an FR IR loader speaker. I've been using that for the longest. It's the 112 Plus. It's great. It's loud enough in some rooms. Matter of fact, in most rooms, it's loud enough. But sometimes I just don't get that that push that I really want. In those scenarios, I have two solutions that I use. Number one, I actually use an actual tube amp. I will bring an actual tube amp on stage. Now, it will be a disaster to just plug your pedal, your Line 6, your Kemper, or your Quad Cortex, just plug the output into the input of an amp. That will be a freaking disaster. That just will not make any sense. You plug in an amp and cab into an amp. It's just gonna sound like someone put a towel over your tone. It's gonna come out too loud or too heavy, or it's just all sort of terrible. Now, two things. The first thing that I do is I'll look for an amp with an FX loop. If it has an FX loop, then you are safe. You're ready to go. Plug into the return and you're good. So that way you're bypassing the preamp section of that particular amp. I just go in there and it works. For Fender Hot Rod type of amp, I usually go into the power in. So the power in input is still kind of almost like an FX loop, but on Fender you have the power in and power out. Like I have here on this Fender, modded Fender amp that I have here on the floor. I'll show you that in a minute. And one thing to take note is that at that point, you cannot attenuate your, like what you have sending in is what you get. You don't have any volume because you're bypassing everything on the preamp session. So you're just full on using it as a power amp. So that's second solution that I use. The third solution is just to use a speaker cabinet with an external power amp. I know Seymour Duncan makes an amazing one, very expensive. It's gonna set you back around $400, depending on the one you get. Those are good solutions. You can just get to the venue, look for a cab there, and just plug that into your speaker. It gives that speaker all the juice and the energy it needs to. So that is acting as a clean power amp. It's just amplifying the sounds that you have from your modular. That's the third solution. There are cheaper options. I personally have the Haley Benton one. Paid $70 for the Haley Benton, $199. It's essentially a power amp, basically. And it's the cleanest that you get. I've used this in different studios where they don't actually have amps with amp return or sends. What I just do is these just go straight to the speaker at the back of the speakers and just connect left and right, and it's stereo, which makes it good. You can also use this at home for rehearsals because it has a line in and headphones out. Chunky power supply, but this will set you back like $70. I'm not sure what the exchange rate is right now, and the imports and all that tariffs and all that stuff, you might be a little bit over $100 now. But this is another very useful solution if you don't want to go the Seymour Duncan way, which is a little bit pricey. I totally get it. You already spend a lot of money on the modular, and yeah. So recently, after watching the GHS video, I've had this since I have the little black box from GHS since my Fender Hot Rod days. I mean, I'm saying Fender Hot Rod days like I still don't play the amp. I still play the amp. This comes in really useful when you're using a power amp in or the return. You want to send your guitar out or your output in this and send this into your power amp. What this does is it attenuates your signal, so if you're running really hot, you don't want to blow up the room. And this is just gonna serve as a master control, which is how I like to use it in my own scenario. And yeah, those are the solutions that I've been able to come up with. Let me know if you guys have any questions in the comments, and I would love to answer them. These are the best ways that your guitar can actually get replicated properly from the digital to the analog world. I know there might probably be other solutions out there, but these three has been the ones that are my go-to. And of all those three, the one that I love and enjoy the most is just going straight into the power in of an hot rod amp from Fender or any other amp that has an amp in, external amp in. And I just like that. It just works well. It feels like I'm plugged directly in, just pedals to the amp. That's how it feels. It's great. Another option would just be turn off your damn amp and the motor and just use your stuff as pedalboard platform. That could work, but that might betray the old point of having a consistent tone throughout. But again, there are no set rules. The best thing for you is still going to be the best thing for you. There are no set rules. There's no, this is how you have to do it. I'm not a pedal amp analog purist or anything of that nature. I am all for good tone, and I believe if you subscribe to the channel, you totally get that by now. By the way, if you're not subscribed, now would be a good time to subscribe. I do stuff like this every week. I release videos on home studio, guitar recording, and all that good stuff. So if that's your vibe, subscribe and like, and I'll see you in the next video. My name is Dami. I'm a guitar player and audio engineer and everything in between. Remember, don't stop creating. Thank you.